find your path. Don't don't do what other people think you should do. Like I grew up thinking and being told I should do finance and finance and finance, and literally realized it 2 seconds into being into finance that I hated it. Um, I think that's the best advice I would give myself is just be true to who you are and follow what you really want to do in life because you only get one life. So what's the point of doing something you hate just to make money? Um, where you can do something you love and have the freedom that you want and creativity that you can leave as a legacy to other people.
Welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, avid book reader, and developing salsa dancer. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who've gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast.
Welcome to episode 9 of the Amani Experience Podcast. This episode, we have Jonathan Mustich. He is the CEO of Evolution of Style. His company and he have personally tailored my last, 6 suits, and the results have been tremendous, so I'm excited for you to hear from him. I enjoy his perspective on how he decided to move out to LA from the East Coast and just how he made a slight pivot in his company and continues to thrive. So I hope you enjoy the show, enjoy his perspective, and let's get to it. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the show. For today, we have a guest by the name of Jonathan Mustich. And what I'm going to let Jonathan do is kind of tell us his bio starting from back in 2000, 2001 and lead us to current day. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amani. I'm very happy to be here. So my story starts out back at the University of Maryland. I graduated there in 2001 with a degree in finance. And my whole life, I figured I would be in financial markets or investing or something like that. So when I started an internship right after school, I just didn't really like the financial field. I started at Merrill Lynch and just didn't really enjoy it. So I wanted to go back to New York City where I grew up and then took a job at Macy's in their retail finance department. Didn't really love it, but out of that came an interest in this new field called retail planning, which was like a mix of finance and creativity. So I took the training course there, was working in their retail planning division. A couple years down the road, I had been picked up or introduced to a company called Joseph Abboud who makes men's suits. They offered me a position of director of retail planning there. And I really enjoyed that position. But one thing that came out of it was I really started taking an interest in men's clothing. And, back growing up, my grandfather had always dressed very well in suits all the time. We'd come over for Sunday dinner, dressed very well. And so I always, I guess maybe in the back of my mind, had an interest in it without really knowing it. So my first day of the job, I had wore one of my suits that I brought from Macy's. And the head tailor there saw me and just started laughing. He's like, "No, I cannot have you walking around the office or meeting with clients in a suit that looks that bad." I was like, "What? Doesn't look that bad?" He's like, "I'm going to make you a suit."
All right.
So he made me, I wasn't going to turn down a free suit. So he made me one of his custom suits, and the first time I tried it on, like many of my customers, I thought it was too tight. And he goes, "No, you stupid American. This is how a suit is supposed to fit." He's like, "Walk to lunch, and if 3 or 4 women don't smile at you, I will redo the suit."
Nice.
And literally, I went down the street, and it was an easy conversation.
He was right.
Yeah, he was right. It was easy. So over the next couple of years, I was there for about 5.5 years, and it was a great experience. I learned a ton about the industry, about sourcing fabrics, about design, about fit. And at the end of the time, I just kind of had a feeling that I wanted to do my own thing, and I thought I had a good background in it. So I decided to leave and move out to LA to start a suiting business, which everyone thought was crazy at the time. Like, why would you leave New York and go to LA?
Yeah.
Nobody wears suits in LA. But it actually was the best decision I made because I was one of the very few people doing it out here. And it really kind of propelled my business to a point that got it here today.
Right.
And without that move to LA, I don't think I would be in the same position I am or as fortunate as I am right now. So yeah, that's kind of the story and
That's
to
the
the point
bio.
we're at now. So yeah,
All right.
it's
Cool. So we're gonna take a step back. I met Jonathan. We were on the same dodgeball team many years ago. It was a bunch of years ago. So I was on the dodgeball team, and then you first made me my first suit was a black suit, which was really good. And then you've made me 5 suits since
Yes.
then. The most recent time you made me this. What's the color of the one? Like
It's
the
like
maroon,
a
the
burgundy
burgundies?
maroon. Yeah.
So the burgundy maroon suit, you probably see it on some of my profile photos online. But that suit, when I wore that suit, people stopped on the street and said, "That's a nice suit." Like random people, and so. I appreciate you hooking me up with the suits. I'm ready to get a couple more. So that's kind of how we met and kind of take us to current day. Something I always wondered, though, how can you tell when you're looking at someone walking down the street, how can you tell it's like a nice suit? Like, what are some tips or whatever?
Tips, I mean, fit right off the bat. One of the things I try to do with my clients is create straight lines for them. A lot of times, one of the easiest things that you can make yourself look taller, thinner, however you want, is, especially the break of your pants, don't have what I call a bubbling effect at the bottom.
Okay.
That really kind of breaks up the clean lines that we're trying to create. Don't be afraid to have a little bit shorter pant because it'll just make you look thinner. And also sleeve length. It's a small, if you have a suit that you have in your closet, it's a small $15 fix to get it altered to have the right sleeve length. When the sleeve comes over your hand, it makes you look sloppy and shorter. When you have a shorter sleeve that goes to your wrist bone, where it should be, it makes you look a little bit more put together. Those are super simple things that I always notice too, and like you can tell really quickly if a suit fits correctly or if someone takes the time to do it. And I always tell people, like, first impressions make a huge difference, and if you can't look at those small details and take care of them, it's gonna maybe put your wrong foot forward. That especially if you're in a big meeting or something, like it's 2 minutes or one day to go to a tailor will change the way you kind of look to the world.
Okay. What would you call yourself? Like you're more than a tailor. You're like more than a suit designer. What would you what's your title or how would you answer that?
I definitely, I would consider myself the CEO of this company. We're thankfully growing. So my role has definitely changed over the course of the last 2 years. I'm very fortunate to have a great creative director whose birthday it is today, Edwin Norian. So
happy birthday, Edwin.
He's really helped me expand the business and like really given me the opportunity to work on bigger picture things and not so much the day-to-day, meeting with clients, altering, running to the tailor shop. So it's been good, and I guess I consider myself now more of a designer and the owner of the company versus like a tailor.
Right. So much more. When was it back in maybe 2007, 2008 when you decided I'm going to step away from corporate life and I'm going to do this full time?
I had it in looking back, Joseph Abood was a fantastic company to work for. We had a ton of vacation time. I was being paid really well. I worked with a great group of people, probably the best group of people I've ever worked with. But there was something missing that it wasn't mine. And I always had a drive to create my own business, and I just wanted to take the risk. At the time, I was single and 28. So I was like, why not? Let's just give it a try. If it doesn't work, I know I can always go back to what I was doing. But it's worth a try at this point in my life. And, looking back, it was the best decision. Also, the craziest, as you probably know, like, you think you're leaving for a less stress job, but it only gets worse.
Yes,
so,
it multiplies exponentially.
Yes.
For sure. When people thought you were crazy and they kind of doubted you for moving out to LA and starting your new business in a place where it's very expensive to live and the high cost of living, how did you get through like the naysayers and kind of the haters back then?
You just have, this is still today, and you have to just maintain your focus on what you believe in and make sure, just work until it gets where you want it to be. There's always going to be things that go wrong. There's always going to be failures. There's always going to be people that tell you you're crazy, you can't do this. But if you have a dream and a vision, you can make it happen. Like, that's the one thing. And there are times when it gets hard because you have tough financial times, a tough sales month, and you're the one paying the bills. So you still have to somehow pay yourself, and that you're usually the last one to get paid. So there are times when it's really, really tough, but you just have to keep believing in yourself and forging forward, but also having an understanding, like, if this isn't going to work, we need to change this now or move away from this idea and go to that one. You have to be you can't be so focused on something that's not going to work that you don't have enough just common sense to sometimes walk away from something.
Right.
Like one of the things that I was really excited originally to do women's suits, because I still get it today. A lot of women come to us saying, "Oh, can you make me a suit? Can you do this for us?" And we had tried it, and it was just a disaster. And so, as much of a financial opportunity that it was in front of us, I had to make the decision that no, we can't do this, because our tailors aren't trained in making women's clothing. Women's clothing is definitely a lot different than men's, and we just had to make that decision. So, that's one big failure, and we learned the hard way. But I wasn't too prideful to say no. I have to get away from this because it's not working.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to ask about a favorite failure, but you already answered it.
I have another one. But
You do? Share away. What's number 2? Share away.
To be honest, I always say you're going to fail. I fail almost every day, because when you're in a creative field like this, not everyone's going to love what you design or what you do to design for them. Everyone has a different fit. But I guess the biggest failure that I had would be just I had an opportunity to really grow the business with a corporate client, and decided to take a chance and do it. And I don't want to name that client, just
right.
But it just didn't work out, and it was a big financial hit on my side. Just a ton of stress mentally. I literally couldn't sleep for 2 weeks, and it just really hurt. And it was so disheartening, and it was a low point of my business and just my life in general, because I was really excited about it, but it didn't work out. And that was probably the biggest failure, but it strengthened me to go forward and made me realize, again, maybe this isn't something we should do. Let's focus on what we're good at, and then down the road a little bit when we're bigger, maybe we can revisit that. But it was a tough one.
Yeah. Why didn't it work out?
Just the scale. So we weren't ready for that type of size of an order, essentially. And we tried our best, and just I couldn't deliver. And It sucked when you can't deliver something that you're trying to really work on. So it was tough. It was tough to handle, because it would have been a great thing to move the business forward, but 2 steps forward, one step back.
Yeah.
This goes all the time.
Yeah. Knowing what you know now, could you handle that type of business now compared to before?
Yes, because I would have, I'd have a better idea of actually the time frame of what things take to make, and also a better way or a better organization system that we have now in place that we didn't have back then. So that actually, again, was a blessing in disguise, and we're actually taking that system to the next step going forward. The next couple of months, we're moving to an official PLM ordering system that ties us here to our tailors.
Okay.
So when you put an order in, everybody sees it from start to finish, and we can make adjustments along the way, or if we see something that's wrong. So it'll actually help communication between me and Edwin all the way to our tailor at the end, to you, where you'll get an email update of, hey, your order is in the process and it should be ready in a week. And it just, because right now, it makes things easier.
Right. More streamlined.
Yes.
Good. Okay. If you're thinking about creative professionals such as you, me, people out there in the world, what's important for creative professionals to know so they can be successful? How can we succeed in today's environment?
For creatives to succeed, I think it's very important that creatives continue to push forward and try to create things that aren't out there. I think the world is getting so small because of Instagram and social media that everyone sees the same thing, and you go into any store and you're going to see the same shirt 3 different times. But I think when you're a creative person, you can create something that the world hasn't seen before, and using the social media as a way to promote that or show it off, you can really take the next step as an individual. You don't need to be a big business anymore, which is an amazing thing. So in a way, it helps creatives, but also creates opportunity to get negative feedback. And as a creative, you just have to take that feedback as is and, take it in, but also then remain focused on your vision and your drive and you believing in yourself. That I think is the most important thing, because you're going to get people that hate on you and knock you down, and don't like this or don't like that. But if you believe in your vision, you're going to find your clan. You're going to find your people, and they're going to get,
Yeah, true. Speaking of haters, how do you handle your haters?
Thankfully, I don't have too many. I mean, occasionally we get some. But I think in my business, in my thing, it's not really haters. It's more like, just figuring out how to make things right, or if we delivered a wrong suit, or the liner didn't look good, or it was late. Just figuring out how to make that right. I mean, we deal with a lot of weddings, so that's a high pressure thing.
Yes.
On all ends. You have brides and grooms that are under pressure. They've paid a lot of money for their weddings, and if something doesn't look right on the tuxedo or the suit, like, I'm gonna hear about it. So, just dealing with it as a professional and not trying to, hide from it. Right. That's the key. It's just, if you're upfront with people, and that's one thing I've had to learn, because it was really hard for me to say no, or to, like, not be able to deliver. So I just had to look at myself in the mirror actually recently and just say, okay, I'm going to deal with it, and I'll take the consequences as is if it doesn't work out. And actually didn't work out recently with one of our mutual friends, and it was probably the best decision for both of us. So, but yeah, it's just, I don't really say I have haters. It's just disappointed people. Right.
Okay. Going back to it's being a small world and creating things that people haven't seen before. Talk to us about the Varsity Jackets you have. I see them back here as we're entering, because that's unique. So tell us kind of how that came to be and what's going to be going forward.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate earlier this year to work with the PGA Tour and do custom bomber jackets for all the PGA Tour pros at the Genesis Open.
Congrats.
Thank you. It was, I mean, I grew up loving golf and playing golf, so it was like a dream come true for me, and I got paid for it, which was great.
Bonus.
So, but out of that, we got this idea of doing custom bomber jackets. We've never done those before in the past, and all the players were loving the idea and we're loving them. So we're like, okay, let's move forward with this. And then I have a love for college sports, and just, like, didn't really have a way to show my, like, love for the University of Maryland. And
fear the turtle out there.
And so we, I really, no offense to Under Armour, I don't like the current uniforms or anything that's going on. It's too much going on. It looks like we're a hot mess on the field, and we are at this point.
Yes, struggling this season.
Yeah, I wanted to create something that, like, looked back at our heritage. Like, nobody knows that Maryland won a national championship in, like, 1951 in football.
Yeah, right.
And we actually had a good run of teams and a good run of players. And so I wanted to create a jacket that went back to that style of just basic colors, and lined it with all the players from that 1951 team that won the national championship. And I got a great response through it. Actually, I got such a good response. A good friend of mine, Benjamin Page, got one for the head coach, DJ Durkin.
Okay.
Which then the athletic director, Kevin Anderson, saw and contacted me, and we're doing a bunch of the jackets for the donors.
Nice.
For the new Cole Fieldhouse.
Ooh.
So it was a really cool experience to, like, have it come full circle. Something I designed, that something's going to be on the head coach of Maryland, and then it's going to be to a lot of the donors and, hopefully a lot of the alums at some point. So it's been cool. And then that's expanded into other schools. So we started doing Penn State, Wisconsin, USC, Clemson. I just essentially started going down the list and figuring out a cool way to do it. But it's been good because it's a fitted jacket. It's not your traditional big baggy bomber jacket.
Right.
It's a little more stylish, and if you're a client of mine, it'll be literally custom fit. But we could also do regular sizing too for gifts and stuff like that.
Cool. I'm gonna have to place my order very soon. Get that Maryland jacket. So sidebar, Jonathan went to Maryland. I grew up 3 miles from Maryland, so we both follow Maryland sports. We love our turtles. And then you would graduate right the year before we won the title. Was it the year we won the title? The year before we won the basketball title. But you were still close enough to appreciate it. So much respect. Fear the turtle. I love it. Tell us, why do you love what you do?
I love what I do because I get to be creative every day. And I also have the freedom to do what I want during the day. So if I wanted to, that was the one thing that really frustrated me in previous jobs, is that if I had finished my work at 12, why do I have to sit here for another 5 hours? Or if I'm really like, I don't want to feel judged because I finished something early or I don't have a busy day, but I also don't want to feel judged if I have to come in on a Saturday. So I think that's part of my just letting go and feeling like I was in a cage at my previous job. But now being able to be creative every day, have the freedom to do what I want, just set up a podcast at 9:30 and just not have to have that burden of someone looking over my shoulder, but having the freedom to do it. And I try to project that on my employees too. So Edwin, give him the freedom to come in when he wants, work from home when he wants. I want to do that as the business continues to grow. I don't want to have like you have to be here from 9 to 5. If you do get your work done and everything's done, then go have a 3-day weekend. Enjoy it. Like that's what I want, freedom of life. And I think that's when we're in this kind of world of Skype and all these great technology, let's use them to our advantage and create a freedom that you can figure out your own schedule.
Yeah. You talked about freedom of life. Tell us about how you go to Amsterdam for 3 months out of the year and just chill and work. I'm jealous in a good way. I want to do what you do.
It's funny. We get that a lot. And well, first of all, Amsterdam is just a great international city. A lot of most people just know it as the drug and prostitution capital.
Right.
But that's such a small portion of it. It's such an amazing city because it's so diverse from people all over the world and so eclectic, but also so easy to get around. The biking culture there is amazing. It's really become we've been there for 4 years now, just a great food city where it's embracing like the food culture, where when we first got there, it was like fried bitterball and a couple other things. But so working there, and when we go there, people think we're on vacation, but we're not. My girlfriend and I, Kim, who also owns her own business, we go there and we work same hours we did here. It's actually beneficial because of the time difference, especially with LA. It gives me some more time to kind of work on bigger picture projects. And then when LA sort of wakes up around 6 p.m. in Amsterdam, gives me and her a couple hours to work on our businesses and talk to clients, talk to customers, and figure out what's going on. So it's actually a great break from the LA day-to-day life, and it also gives you perspective when you come back about things you missed or things you we're looking forward to doing, and seeing friends. And in LA, although it's not a huge city, 10 miles could take 2 hours to get to, and you might not see somebody that lives 10 miles away for 6 months.
Yes.
So it's almost nice to be able to come back and organize our friends to hey, we're back, let's hang out, let's get together. It gives us an excuse sometimes to do that.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's something that's really unique. It gives us an amazing world perspective. We were there during the election, so it was really interesting to see our Dutch friends' reactions to Donald Trump getting elected.
Right.
That was an interesting world view versus the U.S. Being here. So it's been a great experience. We're going to continue to do it each year. It varies. Sometimes it's 1 month, sometimes it's 3. We try to spend as much time as we can there. But yeah, it's an amazing thing, and hopefully, I just hope it shows people that you can do it. Like people, it's not a vacation. You take some time off. We may take a week off when we're there, but you can do it if you want. Like Airbnbs make it so easy, and flights now are extremely inexpensive to go there. Yeah. So, cool. Yeah, I encourage everyone to try to do it.
I'm going to try that myself. What is something that scares you?
Something that scares me. I would say, failures don't scare me because I think you learn from them. So as long as you take them as a learning experience. What fails me is if I ever get bored with what I'm doing, because then it's telling me maybe it's either time to move on or time to figure out something else to do. Thankfully, I haven't got to that point yet, and it's actually been with the way we do custom liners and these bomber jackets, and I'm constantly looking into what can I design that's new and unique and creative. And I think I have a very big passion for doing that, and that's one of the things when I do travel that I miss a lot is working with customers, in person. We do a lot of virtual work, but sometimes it's when you're sitting in front of somebody measuring them feeling them, touching them, like talking to them. It's
Right.
it's something I miss. So I know I still have that passion, and that's the one thing I drive every day to make sure that I don't lose, because that's the one thing that actually fails me, because I love this business. I love what I'm doing. And so I don't have a plan for what would be next anyway. Um, so it's something that I, drive to keep creating every day.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
In our industry, especially your specific segment of the industry, it's a very crowded space. So what do you do to kind of stay above all the noise and continue to kind of distinguish yourself as someone who's kind of excellent, superior to competition or all the other noise?
Well, the custom liners, I think, is one of the things that really distinguishes us. And the story behind this is kind of funny, because I opened a store in Baltimore, and I needed a way to kind of get some press for it.
Yeah.
And the Maryland flag, as you well know, is plastered everywhere in the state.
It is.
And it's everywhere you can think about. So I was like, oh, why don't I just put a flag inside of a jacket? And I posted it on Facebook, and it went crazy. And people were like, oh, can you put a Texas flag?
Yeah.
And so that was something that really, I was like, wow, this could be huge. And we had started building on the flags, putting sports teams in there, and doing all these other, random things. But until recently, we weren't able to custom print images. And we found this vendor out of North Carolina, actually, that has been fantastic. And they've allowed us to print artwork and all these cool images inside of the jackets, and then we sew them in. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is constantly trying to find different fabric. We go to stores and we check out what competition is doing. You go into a suit store and it's so boring. It's navy, black, gray. There's not a lot of patterns out there. And I always tell people, like, you live one life, or you come to me for a suit, you should get something that stands out. Just like you saw with your burgundy suit.
Woo, that's a hot one.
I mean, the past you had done a black suit. I think you did a blue or gray.
Yeah, black, blue, gray, brown, and then the burgundy one. Yes.
And I think, as I tell all my clients, you can either go right off the bat with something crazy, or not crazy, but unique. Because I want you to stand out when you wear one of my suits, and I want you to feel good and get compliments on it.
Thank you.
So, I mean, that burgundy one does fit really well for you.
One,
it's your personality, too.
Thank you.
So it's just, being creative and just pushing the boundaries of what people traditionally wear for shooting, I think, is something that we try to do. And it's just, helping our customers understand that don't be afraid to have this pattern on your suit. It still looks great. It still can be worn to a business meeting. It's sort of an educational process too, right? We want to educate our clients, that show them how to wear these unique patterns and designs, and how to either dress them really up or dress them down, and make them more wearable.
I think for my liners, I have the Maryland flag in one. I have like the beach kind of in another one. And then I think we're going to do a piano in one, and then we're going to work with the DJ. Like someone to DJ one. I can't wait for that one. So the liners are hot, and people notice them. I remember I was at a wedding, and it was like a celebrity wedding, and the planner looked at my suit. She said, "Hey, that's a custom-made suit, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, it is." And she noticed the like the lapel and like the buttons and everything, and she pointed out things. I was like, yeah, this is gonna work.
It's fun, and it's nice when you get complimented on stuff like that.
And it's randomly, like
exactly.
I was just there and I wasn't expecting or asking for one. So
it goes back to the story of me walking down the street.
Yes.
Same thing. Like, I didn't believe it, and then he was like, "Just do it."
And sure enough, same thing. I was at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel for an event, and I'm pulling up out front unloading, and these three people are like, "That's a nice suit." I was like, "Thanks." And they just zoomed right on off. I said, "Okay, this is gonna work." If you could sit down with 21-year-old Jonathan and give him some advice, what kind of advice would you share with him?
Oh, boy. I would, 21-year-old Jonathan was living in New York City, causing a lot of trouble. And actually, I was dead broke, actually, at 21.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. Like, Macy's, when you started there, the pay was really low, and living in New York City was very expensive. Yes. So I guess the best advice I would give myself is just kind of find your path. Don't do what other people think you should do. Like, I grew up thinking and being told I should do finance, and literally realized it 2 seconds into being into finance that I hated it. I think that's the best advice I would give myself is just be true to who you are and follow what you really want to do in life because you only get one life. So what's the point of doing something you hate just to make money? Where you can do something you love and have the freedom that you want and creativity that you can leave as a legacy to other people.
Right. Don't do what people say you think you should do.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good. So how did you, like, it has to take some courage to step away from what your family's expecting you to do, your friends expecting you to do, and to really kind of follow your passion. So where did you summon the courage to make that transition?
Well, the first move out to LA, the first business that me and my friend of mine started when we moved out to LA was we had the suits, but we also had like casual clothing, and that was a big failure. But out of that failure, we realized that the suiting was something that was successful. I would just say like.
So just know the courage. Like how did you summon the courage to like?
At this point you have to. I realized I just needed to take this stance and just do what I wanted to do. There was also a point after that first business had failed when I really focused on doing the suit that I was sitting at another job I had picked up to kind of like make some money to offset the cost of the other failed business. Where I was sitting there and I had 4 or 5 new clients call me, 3 or 4 clients that had reached out to get additional suits to shirts. And I realized I could have made in one morning the same amount that I would do 2 weeks at this current job. So literally the next day I said, this is the next opportunity, the chance I'm going to take. I handed in my 2 weeks notice and that was it. And just ran with the business from them. And that was 5 years ago. So it's been 5 years of doing this full time. But that was the big turning point. And when I was like, and that's the point also when I said, I cannot let this fail. Yes. I'm going to do what I have to do to make it succeed. And I don't care what that is, but this will be what I do in my life. So I really focused at that point. And that was 5.5 years ago right now. So really pushed forward and it's been the best decision I've made. Again, we talked about it. Very stressful at times and more than any job you could ever imagine.
Right.
But it's so worth it.
It's yours.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have to pick a favorite client, but I know you've worked with some pretty cool people. A lot of your suits have been on TV, NFL Network. Like, what are some of the most memorable clients you might have worked with?
I guess the most memorable one that I worked with, that's been on TV or something, has probably been Nate Burleson.
Yeah.
He just is a really down to earth guy. He went out of his way a couple times to really mention me on the shows that he's on. And he's just down to earth. We still trade text messages and it's a really cool relationship to have and just very different than a lot of my other clients at Fox. I've become friendly with Mark Schlereth recently because I started doing his suits. Really nice, very interesting guy. But I would say Nate's probably the most interesting of the high-profile clients we've worked with.
Yeah, cool. Good answer. What's one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so, and how has it benefited you?
Exercising.
All right. What kind of exercise?
Just daily, or trying to do it 5 to 6 days a week. And it's not a lot. It could be 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes. Just something to start my day off with exercising has really helped because it's not the first thing I don't do is go to my computer or my phone to see what emails are coming through. First thing I do is take half an hour for myself, work out, get some coffee, start the day with a clear mind. And I think that's really been very beneficial just because the first thing I'm doing is not going to email or technology. It's like going outside, doing something. And I don't go to a gym. I really I'll go out and go for a run or do some sort of like CrossFit on my own at the park over here.
Right.
So that's generally, it kind of starts my day off on the right foot. I think it's really helped in the last year.
Okay. Good. So we're big fans of books on the show. So if there's a book you've read that you think people should stop what they're doing right away and read it, what books or books, plural, would you recommend?
I would say, I still think, I really like Freakanomics.
Good.
I still think because it as a creative, a lot of creative people I meet don't understand the economics behind their business, and I feel like that's a lot of times when they fail or have issues. So I think that sort of gives an understanding of like, or helps people understand like in a way that's fun to read, the business side of running a business. And especially for creative people, I think that's a really important thing. I was fortunate enough to major in finance, so at least I had a background in it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times creatives don't have that. They've been in the art world or in some sort of other side of it, and that's something that they're missing. I really think that book helps a little bit with the transition, can give you, not on a very detailed, boring level, some cool aspects of, something that can help you in your business.
Yeah, good. Okay. Any others?
I think that's the only one I can think of right now. Top of my
That's a
head.
great recommendation. Perfect. Thank you. We're almost done, but before we go, how can people find you?
So we are on Instagram and Twitter as Evo Style, and then Facebook as Evolution of Style. And then you can just go to our website, evolutionofstyle.com as well.
Yes.
And then also feel free to reach out and visit one of our stores in Baltimore, LA, and soon to be hopefully Charlotte. So
All right, good.
I'll keep you updated on that.
We're going to be nationwide and worldwide soon. Good. So the last thing I always like to ask our guests is if there's any last minute words of wisdom or advice you have for the audience. And then, from there, we'll go on our separate ways.
Yeah, I would say if you're thinking, or if you are a creative person or thinking about starting a business, you have to believe in yourself. Everyone's going to tell you no and you're crazy. Find the people that will tell you the opposite and that will believe in you and that will tell you to keep going, because those are the people that are going to bring value to your life and your business and your dreams. So, cut the naysayers out of your life, but also believe in yourself and find similar people. Just keep pushing, because that's going to be, it's not everyone wants to see the dream happen in like a month, be famous on Instagram and get 1 million followers. It takes years of hard work and dedication. Like that's the big thing.
Yeah.
It'll pay off in the end, and it has. And even if it's not financially immediately, you're gonna feel that freedom that you're building something for yourself.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a race.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks a
I
lot.
can't wait to get my jacket and my next suits. I'll post some pictures up when I do. But appreciate it, and we'll be keeping in touch.
Thanks a lot, Amani.
You're welcome. Of course.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on, and share this podcast with anyone who you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon on our next episode.